this year for Junior League. I'd like to welcome everyone to the I'm Going Sustainer Now What panel. Our objectives tonight are to share with all the actives and even new sustainers the different sustainer opportunities available to them, and also the requirement to become a sustainer. So we hope that you guys find this very informative. We have a great panel lined up for you all, and with further ado, let me get you over to our sustainer president, Nancy Gopez.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so glad you joined us. So the eligibility to be a sustainer is to complete 10 active years in good standing or turning 40. And if you do the turning 40 route, you have to have at least 3 active years in good standing. The exceptions are on your provisional year, leave years, and probation years don't count. Sabbatical does count towards being a sustainer, and part-time maternity counts as a full year, and other part-time statuses count as a half year. You can check your number of eligible years under the placement tab on your profile page at members.jld.net. And then to go sustainer for the upcoming league year, please submit your status change request form as soon as possible. And that is found on the active page as well, on the member page. It allows verification and approval of request, and then it reduces your 21-22 dues prior to the April 1st dues deadline to $170. And then if you have any questions at all, just email membership@jld.net. The only requirement to be a sustainer is to pay your dues, and that is $170 that is due by April 1st each year for the upcoming year. So, but we are looking forward to welcome you next year. I do want to introduce our moderator, who will tell y'all a little bit about herself, her active and sustainer history, and that is Candace Winslow.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you all for being here this evening. I think it's just so poignant that Nancy introduces me, because Nancy and I met on education committee when I served as the chair and Nancy was MAL, so I have such a huge place in my heart for general membership meetings and group meetings like tonight. So thank you all so much. To Elizabeth, Valencia, the whole committee, thank you for being so incredibly organized and for putting us together this evening. I'm so excited to be the moderator as a sustainer of this awesome panel. I told Elizabeth and the others that I'm living out my dream right this very moment in front of you all to be Oprah Winfrey. So I've never been given an MC opportunity this before. I see 62 people in the car. As much as I'd like to tell every active on the call, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, that's not true tonight, but I'm hoping that you'll at least get some great information and we'll have a vibrant discussion. I would be remiss if I don't do a plug for March 26th. I'm blessed to serve as the co-chair for the Milestones Luncheon with the amazing active Aaron Pope and the incredible Milestones Committee. Please open up your calendars, circle noon at March 26th. Join us at the Milestones Luncheon as we have a discussion with Simone Biles in preparation for the Olympics, and we honor Sustainer of the Year, Diane Scoville. We need you all there on March 26th. So I am a sustainer. I joined the league in 1994. That was the year that I joined the league and I got married. And I'm not sure which one was more important. Actually, it was me getting married, but nonetheless, I did join the league as a new bride. I met my very first Dallas friend. I'm originally from Houston. I went to school in Austin. I met my very first non-work affiliated friend in the Junior League of Dallas. And I'm sure several of you would say the very same thing, that the league has given you lifelong friends. I went sustainer in 2008. Since then have been active in the Sustainer Leadership Council being in charge of sustainer interest groups, and as I mentioned, serving as the Milestones chair. This evening, though, I really want to just be the moderator and facilitator and introduce you all to 4 amazing sustainers, some of whom I've had the pleasure of working with back when I was an active as well. And what I'll do is I'm going to turn the floor panel to you first, and just to keep it organized, if you will, let's introduce ourselves in alphabetical order by first name. So, of course, Amanda, if I can do my alphabetizing right, that's going to be you first. That'll put Jennifer Endike second. That will put Patty Flowers third. And last but not least is Suzanne McLemore. So if we'll just go in that order. And to the panelists, in about 2 minutes or less, and closer to a minute than to 2, if you will, panelists, will you please just share a little bit about who you are, when you went Sustainer, and kind of what your current involvement is in the Junior League?
Yes. Hi, I'm Amanda Schufelt, and I joined the league back, I guess, in 2006, and then I went Sustainer in 2017. So I was one of the 10-year Sustainers, is how I did it. And I live here in Dallas. I have 3 children, and I've enjoyed being an active league member, and have enjoyed being a Sustainer. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. Jennifer.
Yes, hi, my name is Jennifer Endike. I've been in the league for 12 years. This is actually my 4th league, and I went Sustainer at the 10-year mark as well. So this is my 2nd year as a Sustainer. Interestingly, it's my 3rd league to celebrate 100-year anniversary as well.
Wow. Jennifer, what were the other leagues that you were involved in?
Morristown, New Jersey, Atlanta, and Kansas City.
Wow. And you said 2 others with 100-year?
Yes, 2 others. Kansas City celebrated 100 probably 8 years ago, and then maybe 3-4 years ago, Atlanta had their 100-year celebration.
Now, and Jennifer, don't let us down. Your favorite league that you've been a member of is?
Dallas.
Thank you.
Obviously.
Patty, how about you, friend?
Hi, I'm Patty Flowers, and I honestly can't remember the year I got involved in the league, but I stayed on as an active until they kicked me out and said, you've got to go sustaining. And I'm the incoming sustaining president after Nancy. She's been a great mentor this year. And I was involved a lot back in the day with the ball, and when we had a show and a ball. And then I've chaired several different luncheons and stuff, but it's so much fun because so many of my friends most of my friends, I'll say, were made through the league in my active years, and it's continuing. I'm continuing to make new friends in my sustaining years, along with working alongside dear friends for many years. So you're going to love it. So I look forward to seeing all of y'all next year.
So true. It's so great to work with friends that you made in the league, in the community, and other venues, and then truly still make new friends when you're a sustainer. Thank you, Patty. Last but not least, Suzanne.
Yes, hi there. Hi, I'm Suzanne McLemore. I am a sustainer. This is my 2nd sustainer year. I did my 10 years or so as an active, and then realized I could go to sustainer. It worked out really well just for me with my time and commitments with work. It was kind of a breath of fresh air just to take that break. But now that I'm in my 2nd year as a sustainer, I'm looking to get there, get involved. A lot of my friends from my active years are about to become sustainers, so I'm looking forward to pulling them all in, as well as meeting a lot of new friends that are also sustainers. And we get to enjoy this time this bond that we've built, but yet now we have our retirement yet fun years. Even though our active years were fun, but I think sustainer years are going to be even more fun.
Hear, hear. They are super, super fun, Suzanne. And it's hard to believe you think of being a sustainer as retirement, but in some ways, depending on how you navigate your sustainer path, it can be as active or as low key as you want it to be. So panelists, thank you for introducing yourself. We have some set questions that we're going to start our discussion with, but I want to encourage you all that we want to take questions. We'd like this to be as interactive as possible. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we'll be working through as many as we can this evening. I want to applaud you all for attending tonight, because I think the hardest part about going to sustainer is the first few months of going sustaining. Like, how do you navigate, if you will, that first year? And I'll say back when I went sustaining, there was nothing like this to say, tell me a little bit about the transition or the bridge from the active to the sustained year. And so really, as Valencia said at the beginning, that's our objective tonight, is to really try to show what that path looks like, because in my own personal opinion, the sustaining years have some of the structure and the rigor that the active years did. It's definitely much more relaxed and low key, but there's still so many terrific places to get involved. So I'm going to start with our panelists, and the first question I'm going to toss to Amanda and Suzanne, and I'll ask you to please go first. I want you to kind of address, when you go sustaining, obviously, regardless of how many years you've been in the league or how old you are as a woman, there's a lot of sustainers at different various stages of life, if you will. There are going to be some that are your age group. There are going to be some that are older. When you first went sustaining, your thoughts and advice of how do you connect with other sustainers, and especially how do you connect with sustainers that are your age? So Amanda, if you'll start us off, and then Suzanne, add your thoughts to the conversation.
So I think that's a great question. So when I went sustaining, a lot of my friends were still staying active. A lot of them are still active. They are, and the people I had joined the league, when we kind of all joined the league together, a lot of people from my original class were still active. And so I did not feel like I knew a lot of people that were, I mean, I knew people that were sustainers, but I didn't really know them well, and they weren't in my age group. But there's a great group called Sustainer Lights. And then there's also if you went for the milestone luncheon that's coming up, if you put down, if you were buying a ticket and you don't have a place to sit, you can put down a sustainer table, and they'll put together sustainer tables where you can meet other sustainers there. I think the sustainer kickoff is a great place. They'll do that at the beginning of the year, and in going to that, you'll see familiar faces there that you can reconnect with, and then you can also meet a lot of new people there. It's kind of similar to when we have the active, and you go around and can talk to different things about placements and meet people that way. So that's a great one too. And it's a little smaller than that, so it's really easy to meet people there. And I think the other thing too, this year I went to quite a few of and I went to some of the in-person events, and I had some virtual events, but I had one friend, and we went to one together, and then there was also a woman there who didn't know anybody, and then there was people that I ran into there that I knew but didn't know were going. And I think just getting active and going to something really makes, and it can be a little bit intimidating or scary at first, but once you get there, it's real easy.
Yeah, I love that you pulled a friend in and jumped into the kind of the sustainer stream with somebody else. I mean, I think that makes great sense. Suzanne, what would you add to Amanda?
Yeah, in my experience, my first year, I felt really intimidated, and I didn't know. I was like, well, wait, I used to have all these commitments, and I had active, my placement was meeting every other week, and I felt really, tied to that. And whenever I went sustainer, I was like, well, now what do I do? I don't have to do anything. Okay, so I kind of didn't do anything. I saw all the great things that were coming through. There were, at that time, people still meeting in person, and all these great, trips and tours and fun things going on. But I really did feel quite intimidated. And I just, always found, oh, I'm busy. Oh, I can't do this. So coming into my second year, I wanted to get involved. I'm like, what can I do? And so that's where Sustainer Light comes in. And we'll talk a little more about that probably a little further in this session. But great opportunity, I think, for us, especially us newer sustainers, to have connection, meet ahead of time, say, hey, I'm going to go to this event. I don't know anybody. You don't know anybody either. We can both come together and plan to meet up. And so once we're able to get out and see everybody again, I really do think that's going to be great. But I would just encourage everyone, as you go sustainer, to just get out there, to get involved. There are so many things going on, and you'll see mailings and emails and all this great stuff and sustainer programming that's put on. It's out there. If you get out there and get involved, I think the opportunity's there. It's just now we got to push ourselves to do it.
Yeah, so well said. And Suzanne and Amanda kind of hinted at something that, in a second, as I bring in Patty and Jennifer to the conversation, I think we need to unpack a little bit. When you're an active, you have a placement, you have certain hours that you have to hit to fulfill that placement. When you're a sustainer, you do not have a placement requirement. You get to kind of dial up or down your sustainer year based on where you are in your life stage. So we have sustainer events And we have what we call sustainer interest groups. And Patty, I'm going to turn the floor to you first to talk about this concept of sustainer interest group. Like, what is it? Give us some examples, and like, how do you even join a sustainer interest group? And Jennifer, be on standby because I'm going to ask you a follow-up, please, in just a second.
Well, first of all, there's a wide range of interest groups, from from garden club groups to finance groups, investment groups, to art groups, to tennis groups, to Mahjong groups. It's all across the board. And these are chaired by an individual, and they're smaller groups. Well, a lot of people really like that because they really get to know other people, or they're sort of in a smaller group and they kind of decide when they're going to meet based on what works with the group. Some of these groups have been going on since the beginning of JLD. Some just started this year. And if some groups are full, so if there's a group that is full, you are welcome to start your own group. That's the beauty of this. This is Sustainers is purely social, and well, we do good work too, but it's more social without any requirements. And so the beginning of the year when we have the kickoff, all of the interest groups have their own tables, and you can walk around, talk to the chairman or some of the members, find out information, put your name down that you're interested. They'll reach out to you and answer any questions you may have that you didn't answer that night. But this is just, and this is just ongoing, every year. So it's really, it's a fun way of getting involved. It's an easy way too of getting involved in the Sustainers too, since it is a smaller group.
Absolutely. And meeting new friends, right?
Meeting new friends, yes.
About, yes. I'm on we're about to form 2 Mahjong groups, and I immediately put my name on that list because 1, I want to learn Mahjong. And 2, that's a great place to connect with the person who's going to chair that interest group is a friend of mine from my active years, but I know I'll meet a whole bunch of new Sustainers as well.
I'm on that list too, Candace.
Are you? All right. Awesome. We'll be learning Mahjong together. That's
really?
Awesome. Jennifer, what would you add? What's your experience been with interest groups? Can you tell a little bit like of your personal story of how you got involved in interest groups? What does that look like for you?
Sure. So I'll add a couple of things. And if I could first say that JLD Sustainers does have their own Facebook page. And so you might consider joining that. And we do hope to then post the Sustainer Interest Group events as we know about them and they're upcoming on that Facebook page. And so that's a good way to find out. The other thing worth mentioning is once you're on the members only side of the JLD website, under membership, Sustainers actually have their own page, if you will. And on that page, we list all of the Sustainer interest groups. And certainly if you are interested in starting your own, that's wonderful. We tell you how to do that, which is basically to email me your idea. We have the new Sustainer interest groups that are welcoming new members. And then we do have a couple that are quote unquote waitlisted that we can also add you to, but there's definitely over a dozen currently listed, and that would be the best place to go really to find out. I personally started an interest group that's open both to actives and sustainers called Jld Connect, and it's not really that complicated. Obviously, in the times we're currently living in, we're not meeting in person, but we had been meeting for a happy hour once a month, and just within its first year, we were probably up to about 15 to 20 participants each time. So it's not as intimidating as it might sound. If you do want to start your own, I'm happy to be a resource for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer, is there a book club for Sustainers? You want to talk about our interest groups that are book clubs? We have a question from the audience about book clubs.
Yes. I'm not sure. I'm looking at our list right now. I don't think we actually have a book club.
We have some movie groups, right?
That is correct. We do have a movie group, but yeah, if you have an interest, again, I'm more than happy to be a resource for you, but that sounds like it would be a great one for somebody to start.
Awesome. And let me ask to our current and our future president, Nancy and Patty. We have a question about, do sustainers in these interest groups or any other format ever do community projects? So Patty is already, outlined the interest groups are around kind of more social topics of culture, of interest, etc. But Nancy, do sustainers ever do projects back into the community, kind of like we did in our active years?
Yeah, so we did there was a focus group last year, and there were some sustainers that had mentioned they would like to do a volunteer project with their kids or their grandkids. So this year we did one with the North Texas Food Bank safely through COVID with gloves and all that, that we did in the fall. And we would like to do one in the spring as well. We're just trying to find one that is open to some, to volunteers. So yes, we sometimes do.
Yeah, awesome. So maybe not with the same intensity that we did in our active years, right? But absolutely
Yes.
opportunities to give back to our community. And then Patty, a question from the audience about leadership opportunities as a sustainer. So what does leadership look like once you go sustaining? How can I serve in a leadership role?
Well, I did not go sustaining immediately, but a friend of mine pulled me in to chair something, and that's how I started getting involved. And so all you have to do is, let someone know your interests or, volunteer and just say, I'd love to head this up, or I'd love to get involved in leadership, and we'll get you involved.
That's true of the league, no matter what year you are. Right? You raise your hand, come on in. But I will tell you, because I have the pleasure of serving on the nominating committee for sustainers this year. So the sustainers do have our own leadership council, if you will, and there are leadership roles within that council. And then as Patty's mentioned, and as Jennifer said, if you're an interest group, if you want to start an interest group, there's a chair for each interest group. And again, what I would tell all the actives on the call, not nearly the rigor or intensity that you saw in your active years, but absolutely the need to be organized. And so when, I was the sustainer interest group chair, like Jennifer is currently, several years ago, and it was definitely a responsibility, but it was such a great way for me to meet new friends. I'm going to stay with Patty and Nancy on this one. Can a sustainer go back to active preferred membership? So once you have sustained, are you a sustainer forever, or can you go back to active preferred membership?
You can, Paige McDaniel had gone sustainer, and then she went back as an active for someone. I think that was president or for a particular role. So you can go back as an active if you would like.
Great. Let me pull Amanda back in. Amanda, will you tell about sustainer interest groups in your experience, and specifically, and a question from the audience, how did you find out about the sustainer program? So how do you, Amanda, as a sustainer, know what's going on in, if you will, the sustainer world?
So 2 different ways. I think one from emails. I think they do a great job of sending a lot of emails. I've not been super about going on the website to look, but I think that Nancy this year has done a great job of sending out emails and letting us know about the activities. I think the Facebook page also is a great place to find out what's available. And then Sustainer Kickoff, when you go into that, that's another great place, especially about the interest groups, because you can go and talk to everyone because the booths are set up and you can see it that way. They also will send out the email and let you know, and you can email, but I think going to the kickoff is a really good way to find out about all the interest groups.
Yeah. Suzanne, have you ever gone to the kickoff before, the Sustainer Kickoff?
I have not. Gone to the Sustainer Kickoff, but if I could take a moment to actually plug the Sustainer Lights group, if you don't mind promotion. So just to kind of let you know, I feel like this audience is actually a really great place to share with this information. Actually, before I do that, I was going to say, as far as finding out about programs, so I am only in my 2nd year, so I'm still kind of figuring all this out. I feel like the Sustainer group does an amazing job of sending out emails. I even get postcards, or these big postcards in the mail that I'll put up on the refrigerator or up in my pinboard in my office, so I know what's going on. So I know that, for the month of the next 3 months, all the different little programs and things I can join. So just FYI to you ladies that maybe aren't sustainers yet, once you get on that mailing list, you do get that information. You just gotta make sure you read the email. I know you get some emails and don't always read them. Read them. The information is there, even about actually the interest groups. That's how you can contact the interest groups as well. I know I've gotten a lot of people reaching out to me interested in Sustainer Light, because my email address has been shared with everyone in those emails. So, and I'm always happy to share that information. But for my plug, everybody know the whole point of Sustainer Life is really that connection, bringing us all together. Since we're new sustainers, usually we're targeting those in their first 10 years, but we'll take anybody that wants to join us. It's really a social kind of outlet, a social club to get together and do that. Now, this year is the first year that I've stepped up as the chair for this group, and unfortunately, we really haven't been able to meet in person. And so far, Zoom hasn't really been working out for most people that I've spoken to. I don't know if you guys spend all day in Zoom calls, but I do, and so do many of the people that I've spoken with, and nobody really feels like gathering on Zoom anymore. So we have kind of abandoned that at this moment. My hope is once we can all get together is we'll have like a monthly happy hour or a brunch or some opportunity so you guys can all get to know each other. Those of you who don't know anyone that are newer sustainers, and also when we do have these sustainer events, you know, I'll have that invitation out there so you can all get together. We'll have our little Sustainer Light group that I might envision is it'll grow. Oh, there's the postcard on the screen right now. That it'll grow and we'll be able to kind of get together and have a table, you know, for future luncheon, a milestone luncheon or future auction or casino or whichever parties we end up having in the future. We'll be able to have a table where you have people you know that you can meet and come together with. So just be on the lookout for that in the future. You know, I'll be sending out a big communication for you all to join me so that we can have some fun and be social once that's an opportunity.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I think, you know, this postcard, what you're seeing on the screen, y'all, we get a postcard like this in the fall and in the spring. And again, these are the events. So these, I'll just pick my favorite one that's on this card that I did about 2 years ago, and that's the North Park Center tour. We had a private tour of North Park by Billy Hines, the general manager, and he told us about the history as well as the art. It was amazing. So that's an event. And we've spent some time in our call already talking about sustainer interest groups, and you can even see there's Jennifer's, you know, email and contact information that can get you information about joining existing groups or starting your own. You know, I'll toss this first to Nancy and Patty, but then Jennifer, Suzanne, please jump in if you've had experience in this. One thing we have not talked about is being a sustaining advisor to an active committee, right? So once you go sustaining, you are often given the honor and the privilege to serve as an advisor on an active committee. Nancy, could you start us off? How does that process work? And, you know, can you tell a little bit about that experience? And then Patty, you know, please fill in with your thoughts as well.
Usually, for what happened to me is something that I had already helped with as an active before. So my active years, I was typically in development, and I was I was a training VP as well 1 year. So those were the committees that would ask me to be an advisor. And it's a great way to be involved as well and be on leadership, because you work with actives and you act as a mentor to help guide them. So it's really fun.
Yeah. Patty?
And then typically, I mean, you're asked to do something that you're familiar with and is in your wheelhouse. So it is fun to be asked to come back and to work with the actives. And as Nancy said, be a mentor in an area that you're familiar with and you're passionate about. So it can really help out.
Suzanne, Suzanne or Jennifer, any other thoughts about being a sustaining advisor? Have you had that experience?
I have not.
I have not either.
I think it is, to Nancy and Patty's point, I think it's something where, you know, there's only so many of those advisor positions, but generally speaking, you're asked when it's a point of your own experience within the league or a skill set that you can bring to the committee. So let me start with Suzanne on this one, but I want to go around because I think it's worth telling this for everybody, and I'm going to save mine to last. What's been your favorite sustainer experience? Not your junior league experience, but when you reflect on your sustainer years. Suzanne, start us off. Your favorite experience.
So so I will say, you know, I became a sustainer my first year being last year and didn't really get as involved as I would have liked to. And then this year with everything being shut down, I haven't had a lot of opportunity, but I did get to go to the tea at the Arboretum at Christmas time. And it was so much fun. We had such a great time. And I mean, sitting around, you know, at those tables, enjoying tea, seeing the Arboretum, hearing the history, I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking to do and enjoy with these ladies with so much amazing experience. Many of them having similar, you know, experience in the league as I, but having so much fun just discussing and connecting over that. So that was my absolute favorite. One of my few that I've had, but it was definitely a good highlight.
Did you go with a friend to that, or did you meet new people? How did you approach that event as a sustainer?
One of my current friend, one of my friends is, I think she may have become a sustainer this year, and so she did come, and so we did meet each other there. But I had my one person, you know, that I knew I was meeting there, but we were able to intermingle and get to know everybody, and we just felt so welcomed by the whole group, and everyone is just so encouraging and welcoming, and it was a great connection.
Sure. Patty, your favorite experience?
Well, there are lots of them actually, but I really enjoyed several years ago when Milestones had just gotten started. I was asked to be the sustaining chair for Milestones Luncheon, and it was a really special time, and it was really special to work with the actives and you know, see them in action putting on this major luncheon, and how the actives and sustainers work together. And so that was just a real special year.
Awesome. Jennifer, how about you?
For me, it would have been the former Sustainer president last year, Ellen. I met at the Sustainer kickoff, and she invited me to her table last year at the Milestones Luncheon. And obviously, as I'm new to Dallas, and being a new sustainer, that was a pretty big deal for me and a pretty big honor. And our table was right in the front, and she introduced me to everybody at the table and all kinds of people. And Carrie Russell was the speaker last year. And so just being new to Dallas and new to this league, it was a pretty incredible experience as, you know, a fresh sustainer.
That's awesome. And that sounds just like Ellen Bryant, just to be so inclusive and welcoming to everybody. Amanda, how about you?
Mine would actually be from this year as well. So they had a cooking class at a Central Market, and it was like an in-person cooking class, and we went, and it was a great, fun experience, and had the best time.
Amanda, as much as I love serving with you in the community, that is one thing that separates you and me. Me in a cooking class would be like disastrous. I mean, unless it was like how to make a gourmet peanut butter and jelly. So I'm waiting for my invitation for you to have me over and teach me what you heard there. Nancy, what about you? Favorite sustainer experience?
You know, this year has been a really incredible year. I've really enjoyed it. Even though it wasn't exactly how I had envisioned it at the start, it's been very rewarding. And I've loved working with all of you guys. I mean, I've enjoyed working with the actives on this, and I love collaborating with you all. You guys have done a great job. And with Candace, reconnecting with you, although we've both been on the Leadership Council for a few years, it's just been really fun to work with so many great women.
Yeah.
And friends too.
Hear, hear. And there was a couple of references to Milestones, but I will tell you, for my sustaining experience, being the Milestones co-chair has been incredible. And it's exactly what you said, Nancy. It's not only being able to connect with some sustainers through being on the Leadership Council as the Milestones chair, but moreover, really making some great new friends in the league that are actives. I cannot tell you how much I've enjoyed working with Erin Pope this year. I love this question. Is the rumor true? Do sustainers plan trips? Is the rumor true? Does sustainers plan trips? Anybody on the panelists want to take? I'm not going to confirm or deny the rumor. I'm going to let you all do that.
Well, usually there's a day trip, and then there is a weekend trip. And this year, for obvious reasons, we didn't get to do. But yes, hopefully Patty, I'm sure Patty will get to do that. But yeah, they've gone to Crystal Bridges before in Arkansas. They've done the Chihui exhibit in Seattle. I think they've gone to Nashville. Just name a state or name a city, and we've probably done it before. Some of the day trips have been Waco, Fort Worth. Patty, do you remember any of the others?
Yeah, I mean, those are the ones that come to mind, but I'm planning the next year. So I'm open for suggestions, and something that y'all are interested in, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Just email me or text me. And because I'm really keeping my fingers crossed, we get to have day trips and we get to have overnight trips. So
Absolutely. I've never been on a trip, but the trips are truly like phenomenal. They are, I mean, the sustainers that go back rave and rave and rave. When they come back from the trips, they rave about how great things were. Before we kind of start to land the plane here, just to anybody on the panel, a word of encouragement. If I asked you, we've got actives on the call that say are going sustainer next year. Let's say next junior league year, they are ready to sustain. If you had to sum, and I'd like everybody on the panel to answer, Suzanne, I'll start with you. If you had to sum up, what's the number one thing you would advise them to do? So I'm ready to go to sustaining. What's the number one thing you would tell them to do to kind of start off their sustainer years on a good foot? Suzanne, what would you start with?
So I would say get involved. It's a mindset for you. It's really easy when you go sustainer, especially if you were in an active placement that was very demanding of your time. It was really easy for me to be like, haha, I'm free. I don't have to do anything. But after that first year, I realized I really missed that connection and those friends and, having that involvement. And so my one thing would be just get involved. You're going to get the postcards. You're going to get the emails. Make a plan and get out there and do it. And come join me with Sustainer Light. And we'll have a great time.
Suzanne, I couldn't agree more. I'll tell you, that's the biggest mistake I think when I went sustaining is I did not kind of get involved. I just kind of let the train go by. And in those several years, I missed a lot of great opportunities to stay connected with people and whatnot. And I think your point's so well made to truly make a plan and figure out what you want to partake of, whether it's events or interest groups in your sustainer year. Jennifer, what would you add?
I would add to plan to attend the kickoff in the fall. I did that the first year that I went sustainer, and I actually met two people there. One that I ended up co-founding Jld Connect with, and somebody else who we just literally approached because she was in the same age demographic, and I've been friends with both of them ever since. So I think that kickoff is a really good way to kind of start your sustainer career.
I couldn't agree more. That kick almost, if you'll pardon the jargon, it's like a career fair. Like each interest group has a table, each event has a table, and it's held at headquarters, and you just walk around and you can get information. And we have a short meeting. Usually there's some door prizes. I mean, there's light hors d'oeuvres, et cetera, but it really held in September, and it helps you kind of plan out the year. Amanda, what would you say? Somebody's about to go sustaining, one piece of advice you'd say.
So I mean, back with the consistency of, my last year before I went sustainer, I chaired the Milestones Luncheon. And so that was kind of my swan song for lack of a better thing. But I was like, I need a break. So I definitely was along the same as y'all, where I took a year off, and I really was I was doing some other things I was involved with that I was doing. And then I think it can be a little bit intimidating to then go back to trying to get involved again. Right. So I think, but if you're the same as I was, and how it seems like a lot of us were, like, don't be afraid to just jump right back in when you're ready. Because the nice thing about being a sustainer is that you can do kind of as little or as much involvement as you want, like we talked about. So you can go to one thing, like you could do a cooking class, one thing the year and love it, or you could do a ton of things and be in an interest group. And I think just not being afraid to jump back in, and you're going to meet so many people, and everyone is so welcoming. And I was fortunate from doing the luncheon. I also had gotten to meet some the sustainers I was working with, and then but just knowing, meeting one or two people, and you'll meet them at the kickoff or meet them wherever you go, and then they'll introduce you to so many more people that are involved.
Beautiful. Thank you, Amanda. Patty, your piece of advice?
Don't let too much time without joining. Even if you're not active those first few years, pay your dues, go to the kickoff, see what it's all about, because dipping your toe in it, you'll feel more comfortable when you're really ready to get active. And because the longer you wait, it's easier to keep putting it on the back burner like I did. And probably had someone not reached out to me to start getting involved and take on a role or a job, then I probably would have not gotten as involved. So just go ahead. Let's see you at the kickoff, and found out what it's all about. Okay.
That makes great sense. And Nancy, I'm going to toss the last question, which kind of really springboards off of what Patty said, but it's a question from our audience. So when I turn in my request to go sustaining, can I start going to events immediately, or do I wait to the beginning of the year? Like when I go sustaining, when can I jump into the action, if you will?
Usually it is the following sustainer year, when you're a sustainer the next year. But with us having so many events virtually, if you will just email me, I'll make sure you get the information. If a lot of them are virtual, we would love to have you. If you want to, we've got a mental health program coming up. We have Patty Flowers, makeup tips and tricks for any age coming up. So we will definitely, if you'll just email me, nancygopez@gmail.com, I'll make sure you get the information on that so you can start joining some of the programs. And Candace, can I add one thing to going sustainer, your piece of advice? Especially those of you that did a placement in the community that you may not have met a whole lot of people, please don't be intimidated by coming to stuff. We are going to be looking out for you guys, and if you look like you're a little lost, we'll come find you, and we will make you feel welcome. So please don't feel intimidated about not coming to something, because we want y'all there.
You'll know all the existing sustainers by our side parts and our skinny jeans, right? That's not this meeting. That's another event for the sustainers. Do the side part or not side part? That is the question, y'all. Listen, to the panelists, to Jennifer, Suzanne, Patty, Amanda, Nancy, thank you so much for giving your time. And Nancy, for giving your email. It's there on the postcard as well. Nancy is our current president, does such incredible work with grace and encouragement and fun. And Nancy can help with any specific questions that we might not have gotten to. I want to thank Elizabeth Valencia, the committee, for asking me to be the moderator. And I think that at this point, I'm going to hand the meeting over to Megan and back to member engagement. Thank y'all so much for having us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Here's the question slide. Please reach out to membership@JLD if you have any questions. If you have specific sustainer experience questions, reach out to Nancy. Her email is there. And then next slide. Don't forget that this is eligible for a meeting credit. So go ahead and either use that URL code or the QR code. And then on behalf of the Member Engagement Committee and the Sustainership Council, we'd like to thank all of you for attending this panel. We'd also like to thank our panelists for sharing their Junior League Active to Sustainer experience with us. We urge you to email Nancy or Jennifer with your questions about becoming a sustainer, and we hope you have a great night.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.